All right, so today we're diving into something that can be a little bit tricky, even for seasoned English speakers.
Yeah.
Mastering the art of invitations.
That's true.
And we're not just talking about, sending out a quick text message.
Right.
We're going deep on the nuances,
Yeah.
the cultural cues,
Yeah.
those subtle things that can really make a difference when you're navigating social situations in English.
It's almost like a secret language.
It does.
Back in the language.
And we love to tailor these deep dives. So we are taking a cue from your playlist.
Okay.
And we are revisiting a recent episode you enjoyed from Lemon Listen.
Okay.
Episode 11 on making and responding to invitations.
Excellent.
We're going to unpack their example dialogue.
Okay.
And then layer in some extra insights.
I like it.
So you are fully equipped to handle any invitation that comes your way.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Lemon Listen gives you those foundational tools, and we're here to help you fine-tune those skills for real-world use.
I like that.
Yeah.
So to quickly set the scene, the Lemon Listen episode kicks off with a scenario about a picnic invitation.
Okay.
And their hosts, Lucy and Lenny, really emphasize how important it is to strike the right tone.
It's true.
Have you found that to be true in your experience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just about the words themselves. It's about how those words are delivered.
Yeah.
And one tiny word can make all the difference.
Really?
For example, think about how Lenny phrases his invitation.
Okay.
I was wondering if you'd like to join me for a picnic in the park this Saturday. Notice how he uses would instead of just, do you want to?
Oh, that's interesting. I'll admit, I might not have picked up on that nuance myself.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it makes the invitation sound less demanding and more considerate.
Okay.
Like, I'm extending an invitation, but I respect your time and preferences. That softer approach is actually quite common in English-speaking cultures.
Okay.
It avoids putting pressure on the other person.
Right.
And it allows them to gracefully accept or decline.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah,
I can see how that would be especially helpful for someone still getting comfortable with English.
absolutely.
It's not just about memorizing phrases, it's about understanding the underlying social cues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Lenny then asks, what time were you thinking of starting? He's subtly giving Lucy control over the timing, which is actually a clever power move.
A power move, I wouldn't have thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it.
It might seem counterintuitive, but offering some control
Okay.
can often make the other person feel more comfortable and willing to engage.
Okay.
It shows that you value their input and are flexible.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Good.
So we've seen how Lenny sets the stage with a friendly, open invitation.
Yes.
Now let's look at Lucy's response.
Okay.
She says, that sounds like a lot of fun. It seems simple enough.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting is her enthusiastic tone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She could have just said, sure, I'll come.
Right.
But by expressing genuine enthusiasm,
Yeah.
she's not only accepting the invitation, but also building rapport and showing that she's looking forward to spending time with Lenny.
It's like she's saying, I'm excited to hang out with you, not just like, guess I have nothing better to do.
Exactly. And this is a great example of how even simple phrases can carry a lot of weight in social interactions, especially in English.
This is gold.
Good.
And it reminds me of something else Lucy says.
Okay.
If you ever need help with anything, feel free to ask. It's such a small gesture, but I love how it goes beyond just the picnic.
That's the beauty of these subtle cues.
Yeah.
She's signaling that she's open to a deeper friendship, and it subtly reinforces that initial friendly tone Lenny said.
I am really starting to see how important it is to pay attention to these nuances.
It's true.
It's not just about getting the grammar right.
Right.
It's about understanding the unspoken rules of engagement.
Precisely.
Yes.
And speaking of unspoken rules,
Okay.
let's talk about something that can be a little tricky.
Okay.
Navigating those times when you need to decline an invitation.
Ooh, yes.
It's one thing to say yes enthusiastically, but what about those no's that require a bit more finesse?
Okay, let's unpack that. I have to admit, sometimes I struggle with declining invitations gracefully,
Yeah.
especially if I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Sure.
What are some things to keep in mind when you're in that situation?
One of the biggest things to remember is the importance of promptness
Okay.
and expressing gratitude. Even when you're saying no,
Okay.
you want to acknowledge the invitation and thank the person for thinking of you. This shows that you respect their time and effort, even if you can't make it to their event.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like you're saying, I value your invitation even if I can't accept it right now.
Exactly. And that can make all the difference in how your response is perceived. It's about declining the invitation without rejecting the relationship.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how do you strike that balance between being honest about your availability and not sounding dismissive?
Well, let's say you're invited to a party,
Oh, okay.
but you already have plans that night.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just saying, sorry, can't make it,
Yeah.
you could try something like, oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got something on my calendar that night, but I really appreciate you thinking of me.
That's a great example. It acknowledges the invitation, expresses regret, and subtly reinforces the friendship. It's so much better than a one-word no.
Right. And if you want to take it a step further,
Okay.
you can even offer an alternative.
Okay.
Like, I can't make it that night, but I'd love to get together another time. How about we grab coffee next week?
I love that idea. It shows that you're genuinely interested in spending time with the person, even if you can't make it to their specific event.
Exactly. It's about keeping that door open for future connections.
This is all such valuable advice.
Good.
Now let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about confirming your attendance.
Okay.
We've covered how to accept and decline invitations gracefully,
All right.
but what about those times when you've already said yes
Yeah.
and want to make sure your confirmation is received with the same level of enthusiasm?
Ah, yes. Confirming your attendance is like adding the finishing touch to a perfectly wrapped gift. It's a chance to reiterate your excitement and show the host that you're genuinely looking forward to the event.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we level up our confirmation game?
Hmm.
What are some phrases that go beyond a simple, see you there?
One approach is to personalize your response.
Okay.
For example, let's say you're invited to a dinner party.
Okay.
Instead of just saying, I'll be there,
Yeah.
you could say something like, I'm so excited for dinner on Friday. I can't wait to try your famous lasagna.
Okay, now you're making me hungry. But I see what you mean. It adds a personal touch and shows that you're invested in the experience, not just fulfilling an obligation.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you want to express a higher level of enthusiasm, you could use phrases like, count me in, or I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Those are great. They really convey a sense of excitement. But what about situations that are a bit more formal, like a work conference or a networking event?
Right.
Are there specific phrases that are more appropriate for those contexts?
Absolutely.
Oh, well.
In those cases, you'd want to maintain a professional tone while still expressing your enthusiasm. For example, you could say, I've marked my calendar and am very much looking forward to attending.
That's perfect. It's professional, polite, and still conveys your interest in the event.
Precisely. And if you want to go the extra mile,
Okay.
you can even add a touch of gratitude.
Okay.
Something like, thank you again for the invitation. I'm honored to be included.
That's such a classy touch. It shows that you appreciate the thought and effort the host put into planning the event.
Exactly. It's all about those subtle cues that show you're engaged and invested in the interaction.
This has been so insightful. We've covered so much ground, from understanding the nuances of a simple invitation to mastering the art of confirming your attendance with style.
And let's not forget those power moves.
Right.
You're now equipped to navigate the world of English invitations like a pro.
This is true. It's like we've unlocked a secret code for social success.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious about one more thing.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about being gracious and considerate.
Right.
But are there any common pitfalls people should avoid in these invitation scenarios?
Mm-hmm.
What are those things that make you cringe a little when you see them happen?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I'd say one thing that can really derail a good invitation,
Okay.
especially in English-speaking context,
Okay.
is neglecting the details.
Oh.
You know, like overlooking the RSVP deadline,
Okay.
forgetting about a dress code,
Right.
or missing specific instructions from the host.
Oh, I can see how that would come across as careless, even if it wasn't intentional.
Exactly. It's like you haven't fully engaged with the invitation, even if you're excited about the event itself.
Right.
So my advice is to always double check those details before responding.
Oh,
It shows that you're paying attention and that you respect the thought the host has put into planning.
it's like that saying, the magic is in the details.
Yes.
And in this case, those details can make the difference between a smooth interaction and a social fumble.
Absolutely. It's about being a good guest, which is just as important as being a good host.
I love that. Well, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground.
Yeah.
From deciphering picnic plans to mastering the art of the polite decline.
Right.
all inspired by your love for Lemon Listen.
That's right.
So you'll be out there hosting legendary parties, RSVPing with flair,
Yes.
and even declining invitations so smoothly that people will want to invite you again just to hear your response.
That's right.
Now, as we wrap up, I'm curious about something.
We're back.
Based on what we've discussed today,
Yeah.
what's one small change you could make to how you handle invitations, even in your native language?
What a great question to leave us pondering.
Because ultimately, these principles of clear communication, respect for others' time, and genuine connection, they transcend language barriers. So whether you're brushing up on your English or simply looking to refine your social graces, remember, a well-crafted invitation or a thoughtfully worded response can be the start of something truly special. Until next time, keep those invitations coming and those responses even smoother.